Hey everybody, welcome back to the Black and Rowdy Show. Hey, there's been so much happening in the news. It's like I want to say everything, right now, but I can't. We got to focus on one thing at a time. So, so welcome back to the Black and Rowdy Show. So happy to see all of you. And again, thank you for all of your support. I see all the views, so I'm sending you some virtual love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm joined with some amazing women. Ladies, let's turn on the videos and unmute yourself and say hi. We have Arian, Tanya, and Desiree. So why don't you say hi to Facebook and YouTube.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you.
So the show today is going to be talking about polyamory. Am I saying that right? Polyamorous. And I want to start off with just a quick story. So how I found out about being poly was I was on a date, and the guy asked me, or not asked me, he says, "Hey, I have something to tell you," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I was thinking something outrageous, or I wasn't thinking anything outrageous at all. I was just like, okay, what's he gonna tell me? He was like, "I'm poly," and I'm like, at that moment when somebody tells you something you have no clue about and you try to play it off like you know exactly what they're talking about, and that's how it was. It was just like, oh, okay. And then I was like, wait a minute, he's expecting more of a reaction. I don't know what that is. What is that? And he told me, and I was like, oh, okay, interesting, and live your life, live your best life. Like you do you. But at that moment, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not I can't participate in it. It's not something I can do. But we became friends and we stayed friends for a little bit. But anyways, so that was my first introduction. And I thought, why not have someone who is poly kind of talk about their experience and everything. I love giving out different experiences in the virtual world because some people have no clue about life. Sometimes they're just like in this little box and they have no clue. So I like to give new experiences to people. So I'm joined by Desiree, who is in a poly relationship. And I thought we could just pick your brain and ask questions if that's okay. Completely
absolutely.
Biased, completely no judgment here at all.
Yeah.
Curious,
So my name is Desiree, and I attend the same church as you, Kim, and that's how we know each other.
Yep.
And I'm also married. So I am polyamorous, or that's how I identify, and my husband identifies as monogamous. So when we first met 4 years ago, we met in Maryland, and I was dating multiple people. And I wasn't too serious with anyone. I was just going on dates, and, I had a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and we were dating, but nothing too serious. And then Nat and I met, and we ended up actually getting married and having our son, Enzo, together. So we moved to New York, where I was born and raised, and we live here in the city now. So there's a lot of different relationship structures, and part of what brought me to polyamory was realizing that monogamy, although it seems like the default choice in American culture, that doesn't mean it's the only choice.
Yeah.
So if I start dating Kim, and we make an agreement when we are dating, you're not going to date anyone else, Kim, and I'm not going to date anyone else. So that means we're in a monogamous relationship. We're just dating each other. We're not dating, we're not making out with, we're not doing anything else with anyone else, right? And so that seems to be like the default in American culture. But sometimes people make a decision to date other people. And I feel like a lot of people do this, right? Especially now with online dating, you might be dating multiple people at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think more people are exploring polyamory. I think there was a poll recently that said 5% of Americans have said they've been in a non-monogamous relationship, i.e., one person may be dating more than one person. But yeah, and I think that a lot of the reason that the divorce rate is kind of going down among young people is because people are making intentional choices about their relationships and being really cognizant of like, what does my relationship look like and what do I want it to look like? I feel like in the past, people may have, cheated in a monogamous relationship.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not polyamorous if you're cheating on your partner. Like, one of the common tenets among every polyamory person that I've met is consent, right?
Yeah.
Open communication and consent. Polyamorous relationships may look different. You may be married, you may be dating, you may not even consider dating at that level. You may be, more casual with certain people. But the common thread that I've seen in the polyamorous community is consent and open communication.
Gotcha. That was actually,
So,
you
that's
actually,
like an overview.
yeah. You tackled like 2 or 3 of my questions.
Yeah.
I know, right? It's great.
I'm like, well, answered. Okay.
Answer. But I do have a question to bounce off what you said. You said your husband is monogamous and you're
Yeah.
So how does that work? How does that work in a relationship where one partner is not poly?
So it doesn't mean that, like, I've said you can never be with a partner. He just prefers or has made the choice so far to not have other partners. And I mean, that's just something that we've constantly talked about. And, it's all about open communication. If he meets someone one day and he has feelings for them, like, that's something that he can bring to me and say, hey, I know you and I are married and we have a son that we're raising, but I have feelings for someone else and I want to explore those feelings. And I think that that's one of the best parts about being poly is that I feel like we are forced to communicate more or revisit feelings more than necessarily maybe in a monogamous relationship. I don't think that monogamous couples sit down at 10 years of marriage and say, hey, I think I'm having feelings for a friend, or I think I'm having, and I think that's so natural.
Yeah.
It's so natural to meet someone and have feelings for them, or, have a crush on someone. Those feelings don't go away just because you're in a relationship with people sometimes.
That is so true. I like the fact that it's more of an open communication, because you're right. In monogamous relationships, it's hard for most people. I wouldn't say me, because I'm pretty vocal, for people to talk about their feelings and to communicate. And I think that's a beautiful thing, to sit and communicate with your partner and say, hey, like, I don't want to cheat on you, but this is what's happening in here. Like, I really like this person. What can we do to make, whatever the situation is, everybody could be different, right? So yeah, I do like that about that. And I have one more question. I have several questions, but I want to open it up to the floor to see if Arian or Tanya has questions before I take over the show. Tanya, do you have a question?
Yes.
You told me you had a question. All right.
Yes. So, my question is, I'm sorry, I had to write this down. Give me 1 second.
You're good.
Mm-hmm.
Once I find it, I got you. Let me see. Okay, so it's pretty much what you already answered, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just to kind of make sure. So how does it work if you're in that type of relationship and maybe you may have 3 or more individuals as partners, and how would you be able to satisfy your husband and 2 other individuals in that type of relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this comes back to communication. I feel like I just say that all the time. And I don't want people to think that communication comes easier for Nat and I than for any other couple. We've actually done several courses of family therapy. We've talked to marriage counselors. Like, we're constantly trying to improve our relationship by working with professionals, because he and I don't have all the answers. We've never been married before. And I think that improving your relationship skills is key for anybody. Yeah. I don't care if you're dating one person or you're in a throuple, which is 3 people who are all dating. And even if you're not dating people, like maybe if you're currently looking to start dating people again, a good place to start may be personal therapy or other kinds of, listening to podcasts about relationships. So how can you keep everyone happy in your life? This applies to anything. How do you keep your biological family happy while keeping your work family happy, while keeping your children happy? I don't think that it's any easier to be in a monogamous relationship than it is to be in a polyamorous relationship. Of course, you have to find a balance. You have to figure out where you devote your time, how you split your time, and making sure that everyone is taken care of should be your number one priority, no matter who you love or what kind of relationship you have with them. So just really being intentional with your time and like seeing what am I wasting my time on? Where could I invest that time in family?
Okay. Thank you for that, Tanya. I have, so what got you into were you always poly, or like what got you into being in a polyamorous relationship?
So I used to exclusively date in monogamous relationships, and I felt like I was getting into these cycles where either I would be cheated on or I would cheat on someone. And I'm like, hold on, these aren't bad people that I'm dating. I don't think I'm a bad person, and yet I'm being hurt and they're being hurt.
Yeah.
And it's not working out for anybody. So I actually started reading. My response to everything is to Google it. So I came across, there's a couple really great resources. There's a book called More Than Two. And that's a book all about relationships that involve more than two people. There's also another book called The Ethical Slut, which is about sexual liberation and
makes sense.
Listen, they're funny titles, but they're good books.
Yeah.
And then a podcast is Dan Savage's podcast, and obviously all of these media have their own critiques, and poly people will be like, Dan Savage is awful, or Dan Savage is the best.
Yeah.
You take what you agree with or what you need, and you keep moving on.
Yeah.
But so then I found out about polyamory, and then I started meeting other polyamorous people. And so some of my friends, like Deke, are in polyamorous marriages, and I'm like, oh, so there's people out there. Like I said, 5% of Americans are living in non-monogamous relationships right now.
Yeah.
So you may know people that are poly, or if you're, polyamory is also popular in other countries, so you may not have friends overseas that are into this kind of lifestyle. And you just kind of see them making it work, and you're like, you have to ask yourself, is this something that would make my life better, or is it not?
That's true.
And you don't have to be committed, right? It's not like once you stamp your card that you're polyamorous, you can never be in a monogamous relationship again.
Yeah. That's what I got tripped up on, because I have a good friend of mine in Portland. He's in a poly relationship, and we've bumped heads because he gave me a comment that at the time, this was a few years ago, that I didn't like. He said that, and we can explore this, but he said, you can love people equally. So if you're in a poly relationship, you can love your main partner equally as well as the person you're dating. And I just was like, there's just
I agree with him.
You can love them equally. I said, you're going to love somebody more than the other. It's just how it is, our nature. He says, no, we just kept bumping heads over it.
I agree with him. I'm going to bump heads with you on this too. You can't really measure love, right? There's no numerical quantity for it, right?
Yeah.
But when I think about the four most important people in my life, it's my grandmother, my mother, my husband, and my son, who's 6 months old.
Yeah.
And not in that order, right? Like, you try to put them in an order, right? If you have those core people in your life and you can't prioritize them, you can't say, I love my mom more than I love my husband. I wouldn't think that that's true. I really would think, like, I would jump in front of a bus for any of those 4 people. I would, go to war for any of those 4 people. Like, that's my family.
Yeah.
And my son, who just got added 6 months ago, I had never met him before, but I am deeply in love, right, with my son. So there's different types of love.
Yeah.
There's different ways. So I don't know if you've heard of the love languages.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like there's different ways that we express love to people. And different people need different types of love from us.
Yeah.
So your mom may really like gifts, right? So like one of the love languages is gifts.
Yeah.
She may not like get hyped up about Christmas, birthdays. She loves to get gifts. And then your husband may want, quality time and not care what you're doing together, not care, what's going on, just want to spend time with you.
Yeah.
So that ties back to your point about how do you keep everyone happy, Tanya? You have to know what makes your partner happy.
Gotcha.
And my husband, like, the thing that matters most to him is quality time and physical touch. So he loves to get hugged. He loves to, like, you can't hug me right now. So, yeah. So that's how I make him happy.
Yeah.
And that Kim Kardashian moment. That's so cute. So cute.
How did I find out about that? How did I find out about love? I found out about love languages by actually going to a marriage counseling group, marriage counseling at a church, at Journey Church,
Yeah.
that they were having for free. And how did we find out what our personal love languages are? By doing marital therapy. That came out in one of our sessions. He said, you're not giving me enough quality time and touch. And I was like, I didn't know that hugs mattered that much to him. I thought, for me, we were hugging enough. We were holding hands enough, all that stuff,
Yeah.
But sometimes, you get so busy with work and school and life and taking care of everyone that, the obvious is not clear.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. I stand by that book. Definitely.
The love language book, yeah.
Yeah. I tell everybody about that book because it's so good and it's so informative, and relationships, and it's so important to us. We have relationships with our family, our friends, our coworkers, everybody, right? So it's that book is so vital to just know, what makes people feel loved or validated, so yeah, I definitely love that book. Arian, did you have a question or?
Kind of indirectly, but I don't know if it could be directly answered, but I guess my curiosity would be that if you were in a situation, let's say you were, I guess, in a polyamorous relationship where you're married to multiple people, I guess I'm looking now on I don't know if it's considered technical, but like when it comes to health, when it comes to like if a situation was to happen, who's going to have like priority in those situations, I guess like concern on that end of the spectrum, because everybody else kind of touched on everything else that I would have asked, but I kind of want to look at it from that end of the spectrum too. Like if something was to happen to your partner and you had let's say you had multiple partners that you're married to.
Yeah.
So legally,
by all means, let me know if you can't answer that, but I'm just curious,
Yeah, so legally so what you're discussing is polygamy. Legally in the United States, you're not allowed to be married to multiple people. So the way that some of my friends navigate it is that they are legally married to one person, and then cohabitate with their other partners.
Gotcha.
So
that's
legally, yeah.
Gotcha.
Legally, you're not allowed. That's polygamy. You're not allowed to be married.
Polygamy. Okay. I didn't know if that also fell into the category of polyamorous. So thanks for answering that. Yeah.
Yeah. So not all polyamorous people want to be married.
Right.
So marriage is its own set of legal benefits and health insurance and right. Marriage is a religious and social institution that provides you legal benefits in front of the law.
Right.
So for some people like me and my husband, we're both Christian, marriage for us is like a sacred, commitment to each other before the eyes of God and the church.
Yeah.
So that's what marriage means to us. But for some people, especially we were talking about millennials earlier, the marriage rate is actually going down. So a lot of millennials are deciding that they don't need to get married, that they can have committed relationships with their partners that aren't recognized by the state.
Yeah.
And I think they're just as valid, right? I don't think you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I have a family member who's been, with his partner for the last 25 years, and they never got married.
Yeah.
And they've been living in the same house, and that's my uncle and my aunt, and
Yeah.
So,
okay, I think you're right. You brought up a valid point about religion, how religion is so entwined with marriage, and it's definitely because of scripture that talks about marriage and this and that, and they kind of like hold to it. So it's interesting, and I've explored like thinking about, do I want to get married? Do I not want to get married? I've definitely thought about that, but yeah, you're right. I think the whole institution of marriage is definitely religious based for sure. And
for most people, not for everybody.
Yeah, you're right. For most people. So I have one last question for you. So what would be considered cheating in a poly relationship? Would it be just somebody not communicating that?
Yeah, same. So it would be the same as a monogamous relationship. If I'm dating Kim and then I go out on a date with Tanya without telling Kim, without saying anything.
Yeah, you tell her.
No, you set up the rules ahead of time, right? So when you're in a monogamous relationship, and that's part of the issue I see, right? Like, Kim, you were talking about how that guy sat you down and said, I want to let you know I'm poly.
Yeah.
And you were able to make the conscious decision, that's not something I'm looking to explore at this time.
Yeah.
But think about how many first dates you've gone on where the guy is going on first dates with other people.
Yeah.
And not telling you. So is he polyamorous? Are you polyamorous for going on dates with multiple people? And like when are you having that defining the relationship conversation?
Yeah.
When are you settling down? When are you finally dating?
Yeah.
And I feel like when people do change their relationship structure, they don't sit down and talk about the rules, and then everyone's surprised when someone's hurt.
Right. I think it's because
I agree.
I feel like they assume that who they're talking to should already know when we're all different human beings.
Exactly.
And so how one human being thinks it might be completely different than the other because y'all didn't communicate.
Yeah.
So I see your point too, Desiree, because it's funny because like in that situation with polyamorous, they're making the intent to communicate first and foremost. And I feel like in not all, but in some monogamous relationships, because we've grown up with certain ideals, we just assume, oh, this should be understood or they should already know. No, it still requires you to communicate that so we can set the stage for where this is going to go down the road and there's no unwarranted surprises. Yeah. But a lot of couples.
So true.
And it's like, oh, I didn't kiss Tanya, Kim. I was just on Snapchat with her. We were just, trading nudes on Snapchat. Is that cheating, right? Because now we have all these digital interactions with other people that sometimes become sexual in nature. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, wait, I wasn't okay with that.
Right. We also have to talk about what's considered cheating to the partner, right? Because one partner might think, well, you just, talking or flirting with somebody is considered cheating to me versus, because obviously cheating is before you even get physical, there's cheating already happening, right?
Right.
Like, emotions are already connected. So, if you're communicating, like Desiree said, then that door is already open. There's no confusion. You've already expressed that you've already been talking to this person on Snapchat or what have you, right? So, that's another thing. Like, what is considered cheating in any relationship? I've had this conversation with the men I've dated. I'm like, well, I consider this cheating. I consider this cheating. What do you consider cheating, right? And sometimes you're surprised to hear what they say. You're just like, what? You know, like one guy, I remember one guy I was dating was like, well, obviously it's if you have sex with them. I'm like,
I feel like
That's
you
10 steps ahead for
you
kids.
skip
Yeah.
like you skip like 15 steps.
Yeah, I'm like, no, like what do you consider cheating prior to sex? And he had to really sit and think, because it's like, wow, I never really sat and thought about that. Duh, that's why we're communicating this, you know, so there's no confusion.
And one of the aspects I want to clarify about polyamory too is that polyamory does not always involve sex.
Yeah.
So people who are asexual or people who are currently not having sex for whatever reason, they can be in polyamorous relationship. Polyamorous, poly meaning many, amorous meaning love.
Yeah.
So it's plural love. And you can, like we spoke earlier about our familiar relationship, our coworker relationships, you can love people without it necessarily being a physical relationship.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we are about to end the show. I thank all of you for coming on and giving me your viewpoints and us just chatting it out. I love it, and I'm pretty sure I'll get some comments. You know, like, hey, you know, da da da. You know, I've gotten comments about like every show I've done.
More than I talk to my family about it, so you know.
Yeah. And you know, I think it's because some people, their minds are not open, right? And they're kind of like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? Why are you entertaining this? You know, and I get those kind of comments, and it's like, because I'm open-minded. I want people to see what's going on. I want people to explore other, you know what I mean? Just kind of like think outside the box. There's nothing wrong with that. But usually it's religious people that come talk to me about that.
Yeah. And I know that and I know that people may see it as being conflicting with my religion. But people will also see my queer identity as being in conflict with religion. People will see anything that you do or exist as in conflict with religion.
Absolutely.
It's just not how it works. Religion is a personal relationship with God.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be hard for people to understand that. But that, again, that's definitely a topic that we can explore another time, because that's like 2 hours of work. Honestly. But
thank you for having me. This is fun.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for joining, Desiree. I appreciate you being open to talk about it, right?
I agree.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Arian, and everyone else in Zoom, or not Zoom land. What am I talking about? Facebook and YouTube land. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.